What's up, everybody? Welcome to Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. I'm Jonathan Beardsley.
And I am Brandon May.
Thanks for joining us. Before we cover the new releases for the week, let's talk about some music news. I got a few things this week.
I've got a couple things too.
Good. First up, Usher has been announced as the artist who will be doing the Super Bowl halftime show next February. You already know I'm excited about this. Are you?
I was just going to say, you are so excited. Yeah, man, I think he has the hits for it. I saw a lot of discourse online with presumably younger people who weren't around for Confessions. And I mean, dude's got the hits, bro. Like,
oh my God.
Dude has got a massive amount of hits. It's going to be a fun show. It's going to be all the high energy stuff, but I think he's going to throw some Usher in there. I think it's going to be a good show, man. I'm excited for it. Probably not as much as you, but I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be good. I know it's going to be good. I'm wondering who the guests are going to be, but my guess is that people who don't like his music to begin with are not going to like the show. That's a given. But people that are just like questioning whether or not he has the resume to do this will walk away from it knowing that they picked the right person.
Yeah, no, I think it's, and I also think it was a good move for the NFL because most of his fans are our age or a little older, and our age or a little older are still following football. So.
And those who don't follow football very closely might not know that 3 years ago, Jay-Z and Rock Nation partnered with the NFL to try and bring more of these opportunities to artists like this, which is why if you look at the last 3 years, we had Dre and Snoop along with all of their friends do one. We had Rihanna last year, and now we're having Usher. Like, I think this is a great era of Super Bowl halftime shows, personally.
Awesome. I actually didn't know that. That's great.
The more you know. You know what I'm even more excited about than the halftime show, though, right?
His album announcement?
Yes. His new album, Coming Home, drops February 11th. Perfect timing. I think that's going to be the week before the Super Bowl, maybe 2, if I'm not mistaken. But not surprised he's capitalizing on this moment and very happy that he is. I'm sure we will hear more about that album as it gets closer, but we've gotten 3 new singles from him this year. My guess is that at least 2, if not all 3 of those will be on there.
Yeah, we'll see. I think of the 2, one was a banger, one was a miss for me, but we'll see what happens.
Good is that one better be on the album.
Right?
Very
or at least something like it, right?
Yes. Yeah. Very well put. Moving on, we got a new album announcement from King Gizzard. Their new album, The Silver Chord, will be released on October 27th. Neither you or I are surprised by this news, but
it's honestly been too long.
Very excited by it. You know, it has been. We're only, I think, on pace for 2, maybe 3 albums this year.
Yeah.
Those are rookie numbers. We need to bump those up. Gizzard, come on.
So I was just before the show, I save notifications for when I have a moment to look at my phone, and I finally did like an hour ago. And when I texted you, I was like, "Hey, new King Giz," and yeah, I obviously new announcement. The cover art is fantastic. I don't know if you saw that photo, but I did see that one of the members of the band tagged Kavinsky, Ed Banger, Justice, and Mr. Oizo and an Instagram post. So I'm assuming it's gonna be like some weird synthy.
Yeah, there's keyboards everywhere.
Right, and Mr. Oizo does a lot of work with like weird
Justice?
weird syncopations. Yeah,
Justice?
Yep. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm very curious to know like what it's going to sound like. Apparently there's 11 tracks and each track is getting its own extended mix.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we'll see what it sounds like, man. I don't think they're going to hit a Mr. Oizo Justice sound, but fuck it, bro. They might, you know?
I don't even care what the sound is. If there's technically a King Gizzard and Justice song released this year, I'm not even being hyperbolic when I say my head will fucking explode. Like, I can't fathom that. That's insane.
They are.
Oh my God.
You know, man, There's a lot of haters out there for King Gizzard, but I gotta say, man, they keep it fresh and new every time. Going from
Dude,
fucking
holy
Judas
shit.
Priest style heavy metal to fucking Kraftwerk style fucking electro rock.
Wow.
I'm about it.
Yeah.
I'm about it. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens. I'm not gonna count my chickens before they hatch, but this prolific
I did
band is
not
gonna
know
go
that.
down in history.
I had no idea that there was a possible Ed Banger correlation to this album. Just went from six to midnight, man. That one is fucking. That's crazy. Love it.
Yeah, the implication of tagging both Ed Banger or all three Ed Banger, Justice, and Oizo, to me that sounds like there's at the
No, you're
very
right.
least production
You're
credits,
right.
right?
The extended mixes lend credibility to your theory here. Honestly, like that sounds fucking incredible. I don't want to know anything else. I'm going into it blind from here. We're
I
getting the first
almost
single this week.
Oh, we are. Okay. I was going to say, I almost hope
Yes.
they don't drop a single, but it's releasing so soon that maybe they'll just drop the one and we'll be content. But we'll see what happens, man. I'm very, very curious about this one.
I might be mistaken about the single. Let me see. Pre-order October 12th. Maybe I'm mistaken about the single, but I think we will get a single. We'll see though.
We'll see.
Very excited about that.
Speaking of Ed Banger, my boy,
Yeah.
my boy Luke up in London. He just moved to London a couple years ago. Went to the Ed Banger closeout Printworks show.
Oh shit.
So I was a little jealous of that. So I just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, extremely jealous of that. Thanks for the FOMO, Brandon. I really needed that right before the show.
One more piece of music news for me. That was one
Hit
of
me.
my two items. Today, I believe it is, Lord's, I think Pure Heroin came out, I think 10 years ago today.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
You a fan of that album?
You know, man, I'm not a fan. I'm
That's a way of putting it.
Lord is one of those musicians that can definitely make pop bangers, but like doesn't on
Except when Jack
purpose.
Antonoff produces it.
I mean, we're gonna get into some pop bangers later, later in
We
this
will,
podcast. But
Very soon.
I just wanted to shout that out. I did really enjoy. I think I enjoyed that album a lot. But 10 years is a while, and Royals being on that record was ubiquitous that year, so it was worth a shout out.
I agree. I agree. Moving on, Lil Wayne has announced that he will be releasing a new mixtape this week titled The Fix Before the Six. Very excited about that. Mixtape Wayne is always one of my favorites, but this confirms that we're getting the Carter Six. My guess would be sometime next year. How excited are you for the Carter Six?
All right. Mixtape Wayne is amazing, but it's also very hit or miss.
Yes,
I will
very.
say back in fuck man, I want to say like 2008, 2009. I just remember getting fucking way too high and just throwing I Feel Like Dying on in my headphones and it amplifying a lot of things.
Damn.
That is some high level Lil Wayne mixtape shit.
Yes.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for both things. I like all of the Carter series. I think I texted you earlier this year. Just we didn't deserve the Carter 2.
No, we did not.
We'll see what
Fire
happens, man. We'll see what happens.
We will. You're right. It's extremely hit or miss, especially with the more modern mixtapes of his. Should we take bets on how long into the album we will hear the first lighter flick?
It's got to be the first thing we fucking hear, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
it's-
thinking 3 seconds. 3 seconds tops, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. You know, it's funny. I think he just did an interview where he was talking about how somebody was saying like, somebody was talking about one of his hits on one of his Carter series, and he was like, "That was on the Carter 3."
Yeah,
he has no idea.
There's been things where like people have rapped his own rhymes to him, and he's like, "I have no idea what you're saying," and they're like, "That's yours," and he's like, "I do not remember this at all." Like, the guy has literally probably over 1,000 recorded and released songs, not even unreleased. I can't imagine remembering all of them. But he
Right.
should know every song on the Carter 3, as it probably bought him the house that he's living in.
Which house?
Exactly. The one in Amsterdam, so he can do as many drugs as he wants. He could do that in Portland. Fuck. Lil Wayne, come to Portland. Um, all right, last bit of music news for me. We'll talk about them more later, but Blink 182 has announced a new album. It's titled One More Time. It drops October 20th. You don't have to give me any like thoughts on it yet, but I am seeing all of the vinyl packages sold out. So it seems like there's a lot of fucking demand for this album, which is usually not the case with giant mainstream albums in this day and age. Usually there's a surplus of leftover records, especially open edition ones, which I'm sure they will print more of the open edition one and you'll be able to find it in all of your stores when it's actually released. But are you at all surprised by the momentum they have going into this album?
So, as somebody who partakes in the vinyl market pretty much every day, I just got a new vinyl today. I got KX5's record in today.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I will say that I am surprised that they had a limit. That could be, I mean, it could be like, created scarcity, but at the same
True.
time, I am very well aware of all of the scalpers of vinyl, and depending on how well the record does commercially, I think it's so I sent it to my wife. I was like, hey, this vinyl's like $44. I think I'm good on waiting, which is something that I haven't been doing these last like couple of years. Like if it's like $30, I'm cool with pre-ordering that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the records I order off of Bandcamp are like $22 plus shipping, which is fucking easy. But $44 is a lot of money. I just texted you that what's his name? Andrew McMahon put out basically the entire Something Corporate discography on vinyl again, and those have
Hmm.
been obviously on my wish list for a long time. And hearing that he was charging $44, I remember texting you. I know it cost that motherfucker $7 to press those. I'm not going to pay you guys $45 unless it's something incredibly special. And quite honestly, Jack's Mannequin is more special to me than Something Corporate, so I have that one, and I'm good with that. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the ends didn't justify the means in that case.
I would be surprised if we don't see a Target exclusive. I would be surprised if I
Hmm.
don't see a $30 version pop up in a store at some point. I have plenty of Blink vinyl, so if I ever get the itch, I have plenty of wax to spin for Blink, and this record will be no different. But we're going to talk about those songs. So
Yeah, we'll talk about them shortly. Let's move into the episode. If this is your first time listening, first thing we're going to do is break down all of the new singles for the week, a couple new EPs, and we will move into the new albums in the back half of the episode. First up this week, we have my song of the week, which is a new one from Troye Sivan called Got Me Started. You know I'm not a fan of interpolation, so the fact that I ended up making this the first song on the playlist this week
and your
means it
song of the
won me
week.
over in such a huge way. Who does not love a shooting star sample?
Oh, I
Like,
know,
good
I
God,
know.
man. It's physically impossible to be in a bad mood when you hear that sound. And it's part in the song becomes a lot less dominant as the song goes on, at least the more I listen to it. I love this one, man. He's 2 for 2 on this album rollout. Very excited. What about you? Did you like this one?
Was I just transported back to 2014?
I wish.
Yeah, bro, this is great. He honestly killed this interpolation when it first started, and you hear the do, 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 do. I was like, oh my god, John.
Yep.
I was like, no
Yep.
fucking way, this is real. But then he proceeds to kill it. So I actually really liked this track.
Same, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy this new one from Gene Dawson and SZA called No Seasons?
I did not. This is not my jam. SZA's like her part in this song is fine or whatever, but like
Hmm.
it's funny. SZA features are normally great, like just on that Drake track that just dropped. Like it's like her part's fucking great,
She's infallible. Yes.
right? But like everything else about this song I disliked, so it's a miss for me.
Yeah, I think this is the second Gene Dawson song that we have reviewed, and I liked this one a little more than the last one, which I believe was titled Porn Acting, if I'm not mistaken. But I listened to this one again right before we recorded because it's the one I still just did not know how I felt about it. And I like SZA's part, and I don't dislike his, but I could kind of take it or leave it at this point.
Yeah.
Moving on, we got a new one from Brent Faiyaz called Where You At? Another perfectly fine and perfectly forgettable single from him. It seems like we're heading towards a new album. He's been putting out a few new singles that have all kind of correlated with this like faintly embossed NWUO stamp that seems to probably be an acronym for whatever the new album will be. I thought this one was okay though. What about you?
As is tradition, you and I continue to disagree on R&B. I actually liked this song. I love the beat. I like the layered vocals. The spoken word Spanish, I think, is done really well.
Sure.
Maybe it was this mindset I was in, but we'll see. It's very clear he's headed for an album at this point. I don't know if he, like you said, he hasn't announced it yet, but it's pretty clear that like he's heading to something.
And I think that both singles he's released this year have been quite a bit better than the last album he put out. At least a lot less toxic lyrically. I'll say that.
Yeah. This one didn't give me major weird creepy cheater vibes. So
Yeah, you
that's
were
good.
cringing. Gotcha. Good, good. Got a new one from Alina Baraz called Don't Buy Me Roses. This one is a little more my speed than that last single she put out. Excellent production on it. Were you a fan?
Um,
You can say no, Brandon. It is
it's
okay.
pretty neat, man. I liked the atmosphere that was created in the production. It's not my favorite Alina track, but it was pretty good.
It's not my favorite of hers either. This is another one I feel like we're at least headed towards a new EP, if not an album. So we'll hear it all in context soon.
Sure, we will.
Got a new one from Faye Webster called Lifetime. Thought this one was really good, but I thought it also kind of droned on after a while. I also like how hypnotically measured it sounded, though, so I'm a little at odds with it, but I enjoyed it. What about you?
This one really isn't for me, man. It's way too slow. Phase sounds great or whatever, but like I just struggle to stay engaged with slow music that is so static. Like if it's like if there was more dynamics to this sound, I think I'd be into it, but I'm just
Hmm.
not.
Yeah, that last single she put out, but not Kiss, was fucking excellent. This
Yeah, that was,
one
that was
just
good.
this one I heard, once or twice, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. All right, moving on. We got two new songs from Blink 182. We got one called One More Time, which is the title track off the new album, and another one called More Than You Know. I think that One More Time is a really good song about Blink, and I think More Than You Know is a really good Blink song. What are your feelings on these ones?
All right, so I separated my notes here. Blink 182's
Yeah.
One More Time is a little too on the nose, but I do have to say it's really good. Like I
Did you
did.
watch the video?
I didn't watch the video.
Oh, fuck. No, 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 no. You literally can't even talk about the song until you see the video, bro. You're gonna fucking
Understood.
cry.
I'll
You're
shut
going to
up. I'm
cry.
sure I will. I'm sure I will. But more than you know, the drumming, as is tradition for Blink 182, is fantastic. But especially so on this track. Does he have a double bass pedal or something on this one? I fucking love it.
I don't know,
Um,
but it's great.
yeah,
It's so good.
Tom sounds terrible, but the song is fucking fantastic. I am legit
Such as
excited
Blink
for the album.
182.
Yeah, I mean, he sounds worse than he has in a long time, but
But it works. Like
yeah, no, it totally
works.
does. It
Yeah,
totally does.
I can't believe I'm saying that I'm actually excited for a new project of theirs post Neighborhoods, but I am, man. I really like both of these. I hope it lives up to the hype. You were right, though. One More Time is a little too on the nose, more than you know. I'm hoping for a lot more tracks like
So
that.
I gotta say, man, I threw on More Than You Know on my way home from work. I fucking
Hmm.
turned the speakers up as loud as I could,
As you should.
and it was like it was like listening to Take Off Your Pants and Jacket for a second, man. And I
I
know
was
that
getting self-titled vibes. Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, I felt like I was listening to a classic Blink song, and I was and it was so weird. It was so weird hearing like feeling that and listening to a song I didn't know by fucking heart. And maybe it's because I grew up with Blink and it was my wife and I's first concert or whatever. But I genuinely like I felt something. I was like, all right, Blink 182 still fucking got it apparently. So, and I loved the Matt Skiba years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that while there was initial like everyone's so happy that the original group is back together. I also think all of them, including Tom, are probably grateful that he kept all of them going during the years he was away.
Yeah, I gotta say, they put out that promo. I think you sent it to me on Twitter,
Yes.
and it was kind of like, bro, are you guys not gonna thank Matt like at all for keeping your band going while Tom was gone?
I think
Like,
Matt's doing just fine, man.
no, he's fine. I'm cool with that. But I don't know. It felt weird to hear them say, "Don't settle for less," as if Matt Skiba isn't
Yeah.
in the fucking room with them. You know?
I just picture Freddie Mercury coming back to life. He's like, I really want to thank Adam Lambert for carrying Queen through these
Right,
past few
right.
years. Now you'd be like, Daddy's back. It's my
Yeah,
band.
that's true. That's true.
Get
You've
the
got a
fuck
point.
out of the
You've
seat.
got a Adam who? Fuck out of here.
Oh, all right. Let's move on. Talk to me about this new one from Free Throw called Thanks for Asking.
Alrighty. Twinkly riffs? Check. Sad
Yep.
lyrics? Check.
Check.
Should be a pretty good album, man. It's releasing on 10/13. This is some emo shit, and I'm all about it.
Same, man. It's like pop punk that's heavy on the pop. Nice undercurrent of emo. Super catchy. I'm a fan. I like
Yep.
it.
Absolutely.
Got a new track from Aren't We Amphibians called Carry On. You a fan of this one?
Yeah, man. Rough recording, yelled vocals, and mathy emo riffs. What is there not to like about this one, man?
Yeah, man. Super jangly and punchy. I love the little
Yep.
claps in the bridge and the tempo changes. Really good stuff
Right?
on that
Little
one.
details like that just kind of work.
Yeah, yeah. Another track that just fucking works. It's a new one from Driveways called Skulls and Flowers, which, as you know, means the autumn season has officially begun.
It's the autumn
Yeah, once
equinox somewhere.
it doesn't, no, none of the equinox matters. It's pumpkin spice lattes and new music from Driveways. Those are the only indicators that fall has arrived to me. Both things have now happened, so let the festivities begin, man. This song is just as good as everything else they put out. I don't know why more people are not talking about this band. They're great. They put out nothing but quality, and for like the last 3 or 4 years, they've released an album every October on the dot, man. I love it. What about you?
Is it just that I have Blink on the brain, or does this song sound like early Blink 182?
It's that you have Blink on the brain.
Maybe, man. I don't know, but the song is fucking great. I'm excited for this year's Driveways release, as is tradition. This is good shit.
Yeah, same. I don't think they've announced like the actual album yet, but you and I know it's coming pretty soon.
I mean, if history is to tell us anything.
They've got 34 days. Get it done. All right, we got a new one from Saver. I'm not really sure how to pronounce this one. The track is called Primal One. How are you feeling about it?
So I told myself at the start of this year that I would be listening to more doom metal, and I think I have succeeded in that. This band is some doom metal. It's got like the shrieks of black metal and like that ominous, slow, doomy of the doom metal. I really like this one, man. It's interesting to say the least, and it's a little different.
Yeah, it takes a while to get going, but once it fully opens up, it's really good. It's also really chaotic and heavy as fuck.
Yeah, it's got some gravity to it for sure.
Definitely. It definitely has some gravity to it. Got a new one from Silent Planet called Anunnaki. This just rips, man. Everything about it works for me. I really liked this one. What about you?
Yeah, man. I mean, some genty metalcore to get us going for the week. I thought this one was really good. Silent Planet is hit or miss for me. We've talked a lot this year about kind of like generic garden variety metalcore, but and Silent Planet in previous years has kind of done that for me. But this track is different. There's something about it that I can't quite put my finger on. That's like, oh yeah, that's it.
I'm so fast to type generic metalcore in my notes if that's the first thing I hear, and that did not even cross my mind once while listening to this.
Same.
Not even a little bit. Good for them. Got a new one from Gravesand called Gowanus Death Stomp. Dude, the fucking song titles that I say on this show are so weird sometimes. This one is just punishing, brutal, and mean. Shorter than expected, but definitely memorable. What did you think of it?
The riffage, John. The riffage. It is just like punishing is like the only word, but it's just fucking brutal, man.
Hmm.
This is some beat down or something. I love this.
Yes.
This is I'm about this.
Yeah, this is Brandon Core at its finest, man.
Brandon Core. Yep, I like that.
Moving on to the EDM singles to cap off the singles this week, we got a new one from Knock 2 and Dylan Francis called Buttons. This is one of the many songs that they made for a back-to-back that they did a while ago. This is the first one to get an official release. It sounds like we might be getting more of them soon, but I don't know. I'm not that interested in it. I didn't really love the track, but it sounds like that would be pretty big for EDM as both of them are kind of household names in the genre. What did you think of this?
Look, man, you introduced me to Knock 2 last year, and it was the first I had heard of him, and I can't hear people on the internet shut the fuck up about him now. Knock 2 has sold out 4 consecutive nights at the Shrine in
Hmm.
Los Angeles. That is a giant feat. I don't care who you are. Like, my God, man, this man just cannot mix. Like he can't miss. Uh, Look, man, I liked this song. It's bouncy. Dylan Francis has been hit or miss for me in the last couple of years, and honestly, if this was like just a Knock True track, I probably would like it more without the Dylan
Wow.
Francis, which is such a weird thing to say, but it is what it is. I think this collab is pretty good, but I think it should maybe push Dylan back into what he is good at, which is this. So,
Yeah, they're kind of crediting like Knock 2 and ISOXO with like bringing back that like mid 2010s just over the top electronic sound. It's a little different what they're doing, but I'm glad people are digging it, man. The live footage is insane of their shows.
right.
The kids are fucking eating it up.
Honestly, I was back in 2013,
Oh yeah,
2014
you and I
also.
both were,
So
man.
exactly. Like,
You and I were shirtless at Showtech shows
right,
being stupid.
exactly.
Yeah, dude. We lived it. We lived it. All right, we got the this is a bonus track from Iglo, and it's called Cave Ritual. It's our obligatory minimal techno release of this week. Talk to me about it.
So this track actually came for this is a bonus track on an EP that Iglo released. I forget what record
Ah,
label
okay.
it's off of, but I listened to the whole EP and I was like, you know what, we need to hear one of these at least. I didn't want to throw the whole EP on because we had kind of a busy week as far as albums
Yes,
go and EPs go. So I threw this one on. This is my favorite on the EP. It's a banger, minimal or not. It fucking got me going. So
of course. Of course it did. Got a new one from Claire Lative called Heartbreaker and Violent Love. I guess new ones, I should say. This shit is just so calming. I feel like every This Never Happened release calms me down at least 10% when it comes on. I love their stuff. This is the first time I've heard this artist, though. What'd you think of this one?
yeah, I've been following This Never Happened pretty closely, and we're getting releases from artists that I had no idea about, but are making music that is right up my fucking alley. Heartbreaker is giving me major Bob Moses vibes, and yeah, man, I mean it's progressive melodic house, and they're doing it really well.
Yeah, they are. I feel like we've gotten at least one release a month from This Never Happened. I know Lane 8 just put out his fall mixtape. There's a lot going on with that label. It's a fun one to follow.
Honestly, it really is, man, and they're doing. I think I don't know if it's Lane Eight's ear or Lane Eight's like influence on the production from these artists, but like none of it's bad. Some of it might like not be up my alley, but like none of it is bad.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like Sultan and Shepherd is a little too like wallpaper music for me, but it
Right.
still feels in line with everything else that they're creating on that label.
Yeah.
Got a new one from Hamper called Immortal. This one is kind of a jam, man. It's got a really unique, glitchy but subdued vibe to it that I'm really digging. What about you?
Brazilian electronic music, man. I'm kind of getting into the Brazil era, the Brazil area now, and yeah, man, this is really neat.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think we've really like tapped that area in dance music or otherwise very much. This was a
Right.
good one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Got a new one from Paul Van Dyke and Jordan Gill called Voltage. Not one of the more memorable Paul Van Dyke tracks that we've reviewed, but it's enjoyable all the same. What'd you think of it?
I talk a lot about tracks that when I'm, doing something and a track comes on and I'm like, who the fuck is this? This is
Yeah.
the opposite for me. Every time that kick starts, I'm like, yep, that's PVD.
Yeah, it's burned in your soul, man. Those
I,
nights where your media player and your computer was just looping it for hours,
right.
probably.
With the visualizer. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
Apple Visualizer. God damn it.
oh, man. I like this track. It's not the craziest of Paul Van Dyke's, but I really did like this one.
Yeah, not by any means. Got a new one from Tin Liquor and Julia Church called Slipstream. You know I love euphoric chill house vibes, and Tin Liquor with vocals always delivers just that. Really liked this one. What about you?
Tin Liquor with vocals should be like its own genre at this point. Like they just
Yeah.
they understand the assignment and they ace it every time.
They do. You caught me off guard with this next one. I don't know if you just threw this on because it was a Caliber song, but this shit is so up my alley, dude. It is Carmel Cox, Caliber, and ST Files. The track is called Grow. Surprised the shit out of me. It was almost my song of the week. It's like down tempo drum and bass with these angelic R&B vocals over it. It's incredible, man. Hopefully we hear some more from her pretty soon. If I was Caliber, I would try and make as many songs as possible with her if they are sounding like this. What did you think of this one?
So I did. It came onto my my little notification bell on Spotify because of Caliber, but I listened to it and I was like, "Oh, John's gonna like this one."
Yeah,
This is
very much.
this is a runner up to my song of the week. Also, we haven't quite gotten to it yet, but yeah, I don't know who ST Files is, but my God, man, the vibes on this one just don't stop.
Immaculate. Capping off the singles this week with a new one from DJ Shadow called You Played Me. How are you feeling about it?
So this is some shit that would definitely get played like in Despacio.
Right?
I guess this is like, so I heard this like not from like a real source, but apparently he like found a vinyl that like didn't have a label and like threw it on his record player and loved it and then took the vocal sample from it, which is why the vocal sample isn't credited because he doesn't know who to credit and it's not like on Spotify or
Okay.
anything,
Sure.
which is pretty neat. But look, man, he's doing this 80s thing and I'm not opposed to it because both tracks have been really good. I'm
Yeah.
very curious to see if he's going to do like a full album like this because this is two tracks in a row from DJ Shadow, which indicates that he's got a larger project that is probably, if not done, close to being done.
Oh, we have a release date for it. The
Oh,
new
we do?
DJ Shadow album drops October 27th. It's called Action Adventure.
That's a day. October 27th. That date keeps getting
Yeah,
repeated on this
1989
podcast.
Taylor's
So,
version. That is the only thing going on that. No, yeah, that is
oh
a
my
pretty
God.
stacked day. Yeah, dude, a lot of 80s vibes on this one. I would love it if the rest of the album sounded like this. I would also love it if we got a Kavinsky remix of this track. It's really good shit. If not Kavinsky, give me a Time Cop remix or
Right.
something,
Time Cop 1984. God, man.
Purple Disco Machine, something. There's enough artists in that 80s EDM revivalism genre to make it happen now. Somebody fucking
Yeah.
make it happen.
Yeah.
It's low hanging fruit. Take it. All right, let's move on to the EPs this week. We have a few, starting with a new one from Earth Gang called RIP Human Art. There was never going to be a song I liked on this EP more than Bobby Boucher, and that turned out to be the case. I really do like Die Today, and I think the rest of it's pretty solid. That's my thoughts on this one, man. What are your thoughts on it?
Man, most of the bars on this one are pretty wholesome. It's got this like old school early 2000s production to the majority of it. And honestly, I liked the whole, I didn't skip any of these tracks.
No,
Besides The Wake. The Wake is kind of sad.
just an intro, yeah.
But yeah, it's, Die Today, Bobby Boucher, those are the obvious standouts. But I mean, obviously Flavors of Karma and Imagine are good, bro. Like,
Yeah, it's a solid EP. It's a really
yep.
solid EP. Got a new one from Poor Sport called Apartments. Talk to me about this one.
So, Poor Sport. I've been really digging this band since we found them earlier this year, and This EP just exemplifies why I dig this band, man. It's like the perfect blend of emo and post-hardcore. There's energy in the riffs, man. There's passion in the vocals. There's meaning in the lyrics. The scene just really is not dead, man. It is going. And
Alive and well.
it's I mean, tracks like My Apartment, the Apathy Anthem are just
Mm-hmm.
fucking like, wow, man. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I know we reviewed a single or two of theirs. I can't remember which one specifically. I didn't realize that this was their first project when I was listening to it. It sounds like a band that's been together for a lot longer than they have. I'm sure all of them are seasoned musicians, but this is a really impressive debut.
I think their Spotify description is a bunch of dads playing post-hardcore, which is great.
Hey,
Like, good for them.
love it. Yep, bring it on. Bring it on.
Let's go.
Yeah, really good stuff. Crazy, crazy good for a first release, especially.
Yep, I agree.
Got a new one from True Divine called How Many Faces. Talk to me about this.
Some more genty metalcore for our week. I threw this one on because it's a smaller band, and you know how much I like the underground of giant established genres. It's good stuff, man. I like the variation in the vocals. I like the little hits of death metal they throw in. I think the breakdowns are tight. They're really taking a lot of influence from the Acacia Strain on some of those breakdowns. The drumming throughout is good. I do think though that the bass is kind of buried in the mix, but other than that, man, I think it's good shit, bro. I didn't skip any of these tracks every time they came on this week. I thought this was pretty good. What did you think about it?
I agree. I thought it was good too. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's straight to the point. There's some pretty sick moments on it, dude. The outro to Love and Void,
Yep.
the breakdown and Mimic. The only thing that limited me on this one in terms of my enjoyment was just how burnt out I am on this style of metalcore.
I know.
This was a lot more enjoyable for me than some of the other releases that we've covered in the genre more recently, though. So props to them.
I mean, dude, I'm just going to take a moment. We have had a number of metalcore releases this year, ranging from Unearthed to Currents to this to a bunch of other ones, and
Mhm.
a bunch of other bands that we honestly haven't even covered because of how burnt out I am on how garden variety stuff is. And this is more of the Currents style where they do a genty riff and the breakdowns are almost predictable in a certain way, but there's something about the production on this one that gets me fucking going, and and it feels better to hear a younger band doing it with some hunger and some passion rather than feeling like the band is kind of going through the motions. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And I feel like production or not, whatever it is that sets you apart from the rest of the crowd in metalcore, do it because that's what makes a difference. Periphery, they just think so
Right.
outside the box that like I don't really hear it as metalcore when I'm listening to it, even though that's what it is. I don't know. I feel like there's still fresh ways to approach it, but we're hearing a lot of repetition. This is a good sign for things to come, though, I would say.
For sure. And the fact that Periphery's album Gent is Not a Genre is probably more popular in the prog metal scene
Yeah. Yeah.
rather
True.
than it is in the metalcore scene kind of says a little bit about what the band is doing. They're playing with time signatures. They're playing with like weird riffs. Like it works.
While keeping it metalcore too, which is
Exactly.
yeah, and it works, and it works.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the albums this week. We've got a few interesting ones to talk about, starting with the new one from Doja Cat called Scarlet. She described her last projects as mediocre pop and said that she's just going to rap now. She's definitely rapping more, but she's always rapped. Like,
Right.
that doesn't really make this a rap album, though. At least not in its entirety. Like, if I'm judging this as a rap album, I don't think it's very good. I'll get into the specific likes and dislikes in that in a second. But if I were to judge this as a pop album, I think it's okay. Let me explain. The album opens up with the undeniable hit, Paint the Town, before falling off a steep cliff for a while. I did not like Demons when it dropped as a single, and I don't like it now. The What Are Those bars are not doing it for me, and the pseudo-satanic worship visuals
Which ones?
felt like she was just trying so hard, all of them. Which is ironic considering how little she seems to care about what her fans think. Why try so hard then? From there, we get into her best watered down cupcake impression on Wet Vagina, which is only 3 songs into the album, but it already feels like we're an ocean away from the Safe Haven of Paint the Town Red. We get a few more mediocre pop songs or mediocre rap songs, as I would call them, from there before she finally lets the inevitable occur and goes in more of a melodic direction, much to the satisfaction of me and probably a lot of other listeners who are along for the ride. The highest peak of the album outside of Paint the Town finally comes when we arrive at the track Agora Hills, which has a little bit of everything I kind of like about her music. It's clever, it's stupid, there's personality, it's actually fun to listen to. A lot of that has to do with my personal preference, but I wouldn't be surprised if that track becomes a big hit. I actually think from that track on is pretty good and kind of saves the rest of the album for me, but not quite enough for me to want to come back to it in full. I came into this one really wanting to like it, and maybe that played into my overall feeling. But the reality is, this album is 17 songs, and I like half of them at best if I'm being generous. But on the flip side, the ones I like, I really like. So I'm going to give it a 5.5. Paint the Town Red is the best song on it. Agora Hills might be my favorite song on it. I'll keep bumping those two. I'll probably forget about the rest over time. What were your thoughts on this one?
John, you just gave this album a perfect review. Like thank you.
You're welcome.
What are we gonna do with Doja Cat, bro? So you and I postulated that this record wasn't going to be much of anything. I think I called it a dud prior, like even prior to hearing it.
Yep.
I wasn't necessarily wrong. It's not quite a dud, but it's not amazing either. So the second half for me is far more interesting than the first half. Basically, there's two albums here. It's pre and post Agora Hills.
Yep.
A couple of things I noticed with this album. I think I like the tracks where she's doing double duty of rapping and singing on the same track. Her vocal melodies are actually pretty good, and she honestly has a decent voice when she uses it. I do not like the way she raps, man. It's not even like derivative, like she herself claims, as she says that she's just copying the greats, which she just is not. I don't think that she's ever listened to the greats. No, it's just a weird flow, man. She sounds like a gremlin a little bit, like for like the majority of this album. At 17 tracks and almost an hour long, you know that there's more than a few filler tracks here. Agora Hills, Paint the Town Red, Skull and Bones are all great, but if I'm being honest, I didn't like it more than I disliked it. It's kind of a miss for me, man, but it was hyped massively. I think it could have been trimmed down to like an EP and it would have been a hit. Like if this was 7 tracks and like fucking 28 minutes and was put out there with like no amount of hype, it would have been a hit. Like it would have just been a fucking hit. And instead it was hyped and hyped and hyped and hyped and then delayed and then garbage, and then it just is what it is. It's somewhere between a 4 and a 5 for me. Agora Hills is probably the best song on the album, like you said. So I'm just going to go ahead and give that one my standout.
I feel like I'm a little bit mad at her for wasting the Demon single artwork too. That was like the sickest single artwork I've seen in a minute, and that song is trash.
It really is.
So and I would have used it for the album artwork too, especially given we didn't even get into the album art controversy on this, and we really don't need to. But yeah, big miss there.
And I gotta say, man, if you're gonna do a "What Are Those" fucking bar, don't do it twice on the same album, Doja.
Yeah. Lazy is what that is. Fucking lazy.
It's like the same. It's like the same bar on 2 different tracks. It's so weird.
Oh man, let's move on because we got a new album from Kylie Minogue called Tension, and Kylie is a dance pop legend, dude. She's already certified first ballot Hall of Famer. Everything she's doing now is just fucking side quests, but despite the stakes being so low for her, she's still giving us some of like her best work to date. We got a few all-timers on here. Padam Padam, Tension, as well as album cuts like You Still Get Me High and Hands that really stand out to me. Dance pop albums like this are often top heavy. That was the case with the Allison Goldfrapp album earlier this year. Kylie was able to make a dance pop album that's engaging throughout and that's as catchy as it is danceable. It's easy to say that this album is a little bit Britney or a little bit Madonna, but it's just 100% Kylie, and I love it, man. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one an 8. My standout is the opener, Padam Padam, of course, but shout out Vegas High too, another killer album cut. What'd you think of this one?
Man, there's one thing all these pop girlies have been missing over the last couple of years. Pop is supposed to be fucking fun. I
Yep,
feel like this is why I've loved Carly Rae Jepsen's work so much in the past couple of years. Kylie obviously is a fucking icon, and 30 years into her career, I think she's released another banger, like all the way
yep.
fucking through. It may not be as like commercially viable as her stuff in the 90s was, but it's absolutely a banger front to back. I cannot find a track that I dislike. And honestly, I
Yeah.
know that Oliver Heldens has been getting huge lately or whatever, but I hope that he's taking the honor of getting a production credit on Kylie Minogue's album seriously, man, because hopefully he's humbled by that a little bit.
Yeah.
This is the I have nothing bad to say about this record, man. It's fucking great. It's in my running for my favorite pop records of this year.
Yep.
Fantastic job, Kylie. I'm also going to give it an 8 out of 10. You can just throw a dart at it for my standout, but you still get me high, I think, is a special one.
Yeah, that song is fucking phenomenal. Glad you really like this one too.
Fuck yeah, dude. This was a really fun listen.
Are you ready to talk about Chappell Roan, Brandon?
I am.
All right, let's talk about her debut album, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. I know this album is all new to you, but I've been listening to most of these songs for months now. In fact, all but 5 of these tracks were released as singles at some point over the past couple of years, but they've all culminated in her debut album, which I think is fantastic. It's different, won't be for everyone, but her voice, her songwriting, her visuals all make for an experience that is equally as fun as it is compelling. A lot of this album is music you can just throw on and have a good time to, but there's a lot of depth if you're listening close. I wouldn't say the themes are broad, but they are definitely relatable, at least in the way she conveys them. Like growing up as a queer person in the Midwest is not something I can relate to, but I can relate to the feelings that she's describing. I don't think this album is about relatability as much as it is about her though. Relatability is just a bonus at that point. Getting into the music though, man, I love so many of the decisions that she made on this project. Every time you think you know where she's going, you definitely do not. You think it's an upbeat dance pop direction and she zags into a harrowing ballad. You think it's going to go bubblegum pop and it goes indie or folk. She's not only capable of doing many things, she's great at doing almost all of them. I'm giving this one a fucking 9, man. In terms of a standout, I have no clue. I feel like I'm almost too close to a lot of these songs. I think My Kink is Karma was probably the top song on my wife's Spotify Wrapped last year. I'm humming the chorus to Casual almost constantly. Red Wine Supernova, fucking jam. And of the songs I hadn't heard, Super Graphic Ultra Modern Girl was probably my favorite, very reminiscent of Pete Gaga. I love this project, as you could tell, but I am very curious to know your thoughts on it going in blind.
So yeah, fully blind here. I had no idea who Chappell was before I listened to this record. This is a very interesting pop record. Pop record, man. It's kind of like an amalgam of a bunch of stuff we've heard over the last couple of years, but it's packaged in a really palatable way, in my opinion. This is a little bit Florence and the Machine meets Lana Del Rey meets your favorite pop singer, and I think it really works for me. There's like a couple of softer, like you said, like indie folk ballads. There's a couple of tracks that are like upbeat and energetic. I think I'm a fan of this, man. The album
Yes,
is it's
converted you.
none of this is generic, but it's not fully original. None of it's like crazy exciting, yet none of it is bland. It kind of toes the line here of really just interesting. It was a really interesting listening experience for the first time. I remember I clicked on the first song and I was like, who the fuck is this? Who did Jon throw on this playlist? And I was like, okay. After the first song ended, I was like, all right. And then we got to my standout, which was Red Wine Supernova, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's why he added this. So
Yeah, I didn't add it just to get you hot like Papa John's, as she says in the first song. Red Wine Supernova is an all-timer for sure. I'm
Yeah,
glad you love that
it's a
one.
great track, man. I really enjoyed this album. I'm gonna give it a 7. Like I said, my
There.
standout is Red Wine Supernova, man. I'm glad you really enjoyed it though.
You gave it the same score as Pitchfork, you fucking poser. No,
You know I don't
she
read
is
Pitchfork.
she,
Pitchfork reads us, bro.
she is also doing very well for herself. Kind of hard to be a fan of in terms of the supportive way because tried to buy live tickets to see her, sold out. Her vinyl for this went on pre-order. It broke your $40 pre-order new rule, so we did
Yeah.
not get it. Yeah, man. Still love her music. We'll probably get the vinyl if I see it at Target or something. But yeah, I'm glad that people are loving her and buying tickets to her shows and buying her shit, dude. I think she is more than worthy of the acclaim she's getting at this point.
We'll see what happens, man. Great debut.
Yes, yes. Let's move on. We got a new album from Cannibal Corpse called Chaos Horrific.
This one is
I'm
not a
letting you off the
debut.
leash, Brandon. Talk to me.
This is indeed a Cannibal Corpse album. You
This
know,
isn't their debut?
no, it's not. I don't think that Cannibal Corpse is the most talented uh, death metal band out there. I don't think that they're the most brutal band out there. I don't think that they're the most technical band out there. But there's just something about their music that fucking speaks to me, man. It's the absolute cheesiness in the lyrics. It's the growth that every band member does with each album. It's the obscene amount of gore that you hear along with it. So longtime listeners of this podcast and you are going to know how I feel about this album. Obviously, I love it. So instead of doing any more reviewing, I think I'm just going to go over some of my favorite lyrics on the project.
Hit me.
Dismember them and mount on spikes limbs and heads of the defeated. Oh, come thee and gather. Your hunger now calls. Partake in devouring your kin. Seas of gore as far as the eye can see. It saturates the vision. Demented surgeon designs, and my personal favorite, involuntary human sculpture. Scraps of flesh hang from decrepit fangs. Yeah, man, this album is a Cannibal Corpse album. It is.
Yep.
All of these tracks are going to be a fucking party live. If anybody listening has seen Cannibal Corpse, you know that they are the only way to describe it is it's a fucking party. I saw them in 2014 at a festival, and the crowd just fucking erupted, bro. The pit was insane. I saw them again, co-headline with Morbid Angel back in like 2017. Again, everybody was fucking toasting their beers. Like it was a party, man. And I think all of these songs are going to bang. It's a good entry into their discography. It's nowhere near my favorite of theirs, but it's a 7 out of 10. My standout is Fracture and Refracture. What did you think about this new Cannibal Corpse album, sir?
I mean, we both knew it was gonna rip from the singles,
Of
dude.
course.
And if those weren't enough confirmation, then you damn knew well, but you knew by the end of the first track. Like they do not fuck around for a single second on this. It's in your face. It doesn't stop shredding. The last song is even called Drain You Empty, for fuck's sake. Like the album is supposed to just kill you.
Which
They
actually
kn-
what me a new word, by the way,
What's that?
exsanguinate,
What's it
which
mean?
is to drain an animal.
Examining? What the fuck? All right, the more I know.
Right.
Yeah, man, they know exactly what they're doing on this album, and they do it with surgical precision. It's super technical, but it's hard to appreciate that part when it's punching you in the fucking face with every breakdown. I would not have it any other way, though, man. I loved it. I'm going to give it like a 7.5, maybe an 8. My standout is also Fracture and Refracture.
Hey,
Because of course it is, dude. The last minute of that track is insane.
just
Fucking
so good, man.
insane.
Just so good.
Love it. Yeah, good shit from Cannibal Corpse, as if that was ever in doubt.
Right.
Got a new one from Day Aches called One Last Dream Before Dying. Did you enjoy this one?
Dude, we've covered a ton of shoegaze this year. I'm going to bet that
We
we've
have.
made a fan out
Yes.
of you. I really like a lot of things about this record. The mixing and mastering, it's loud where it needs to be. Every instrument has its own place properly. The vocals and the lyrics, they're both classic and unique at the same time. I fucking love, though, when they get heavy, like on their track Leave. It really
Mm-hmm.
gives me the band Hum vibes, and the breakdown at the end of that track is fucking tight. This album is a quick listen. It's only 36 minutes, and I really like every minute of it, man. The underground is alive and well, and we've got some quality shoegazy post-hardcore stuff with Day Aches. Fantastic record, man. I just can't get enough of this label's shit, but this album in particular is crazy, man. I've been really digging it.
Yeah, man. Add another feather in the cap for really rad in 2023. This is a pretty stacked week in terms of releases, and I made a point to come back to this album more often than some of the other ones. We reviewed a song of theirs, I think, a week or two ago, and I really liked it, and I hoped that that sound would carry over to the rest of the album, and I'm happy it did. Their specific combination of grungy alt rock with shoegaze in there just creates a really unique atmosphere to their music that I think works really well for them. And beyond that, it's a really well put together album. I'm going to give it a 7. My standouts are Arius and Lavender. Really liked those two.
Funny, I have two different standouts. My standouts are Velvet Response or Leave.
Look at us.
I know, right?
Life's crazy
I did
like
also
that.
forget to mention that
Yeah.
in the last album that we reviewed, Fracture and Refracture was my song of the week.
Ah,
But
okay.
with Day Aches, man, both of those tracks, Velvet Response or Leave, are fucking bangers, and
It's a really good album.
I like
It's a
the whole
really good
album.
album. Yes, same. All right, capping off the albums this week with a new one from Memory Derelict called Revelation. So we reviewed an EP of his earlier this year that we both enjoyed, but that project being only 4 tracks kind of gave us a more limited view of what he was capable of. That release felt kind of like the shallow end of the pool compared to this one. It's easy to get fooled by the somewhat unassuming intro track. Before long, you're getting lost in like the chains on assembly or the distorted ranting madness of Serpent Church. And you know that you're in for something much more different. And to bring a track like that back from the distortion into almost like angelic organs is a nice little twist. I'm glad Cloud of Trepidation comes after that because you almost need a moment to regain yourself. We have
Right?
not reviewed a lot of ambient music on this podcast, especially one of this length, but I was happy and a bit surprised at how much I enjoyed it, man. It's very easy to get lost in, and it's the perfect time of year for a release like this, too. Super dark, super atmospheric, a little foreboding. I really liked it. I'm going to give it an 8. My standouts are Serpent Church and Assembly. But also, full disclosure, I am friends with this artist, and I would have no problem telling him if I thought it sucked. He knows that, but I just felt like putting that out there for transparency's sake. You do not know this artist, though, Brandon. So, what did you think of this?
Yeah, man, we haven't covered like a lot of ambient, but it's apparent that most techno artists most great techno artists have like this weird ambient side to them that needs to be put out into the world. And Memory Derelict here does it fucking well, man. Like you said, I mean, we've got some really odd, unconventional soundscapes that shouldn't go well together, but they really do. Like you said, on like the back end of Serpent Church and how it kind of like transforms itself. We've got tracks like Heaven Opens, which is just crazy.
I knew you were going to like that one.
I really did like this. I'm not gonna lie and say that I didn't wish for a kick drum here or there. I think it would have given me a little bit of like, I don't know, solace is the word. But yeah, man, I enjoyed it. I like ambient music, as you know. I like a lot of Aphex Twin stuff. I like a lot of Brian Eno's stuff, and I'm not gonna say that this is quite at that level, but man, I mean, this guy needs to just keep going, and he'll get there someday. This is pretty good, man. I liked it a lot. I'm gonna give it a 7. My standout, I think, is Heaven Opens.
Fuck yeah, dude. I knew that was going to be your standout. From the second I saw the 9-minute tag next to that song, I knew it was going to be your
You
standout
gotta
there.
give shit like that time to breathe, man, and he does it. So
Yes, I saw him live Sunday night. If you are in the Portland area, make sure you're following Memory Derelict if you liked this. He plays shows, and they are a good time. I'm glad you enjoyed this release, man. Didn't know how you'd feel about it.
I like techno. I like ambient, and I like when, like I said, I wish there was like a track or two where there was like some percussion, like at the very least. But we'll see what's next for Memory Derelict.
What does Gabe say in the scenes of the unsettling in the office? Perhaps the director knew that even narrative was comforting.
There it is. There it is.
Keep looking for that kick drum, buddy. All right, that does it for us this week. Join us next week when we will be breaking down new releases from Lil Wayne, Georgia Smith, Le Youth, Koyo, Harm's Way, and much, much more. That's going to be a really fun episode,
That's
dude.
gonna be a
I'm
crazy
excited for
episode.
all of those releases. If you liked the show, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. You can find us on Instagram and Reddit. Just search Brandon's Face Pod. Make sure you're following along with the playlist that this podcast is based on. You can find the link to that in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.